What's up? Once again, what did I tell you? Pastor Greg back at you in your face again. I told you I was coming here every week, Thursdays at 2 o'clock, here just for you in the recovery community. We're spitting the fire of recovery truth, concentrating on relapse prevention because we know that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Today of all days, the Bible says today is the day of salvation, and now is an accepted time. I have the most amazing guests with me today. They happen to be my brother and my sister, my friends, and the facilitators of our relationship recovery at Community Recovery International. They have been faithful servants, but they got something to say, because what we want you to understand and appreciate today is that relationships also have an impact on recovery. So without any further ado, I just want to welcome Lee Fuller and Bill Wilson. Hi, Lee.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Hi, Bill. You're looking good, man.
Thank you.
I'm envying the beard, man. I'm saying, like, dude, you really got it groomed. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to do it, listen to me, people. If you're going to do it for real, do it 100%, do it all the way up. Own you, do you. That's something I learned. I want y'all to know something else, that Lee has been a mentor of mine. I'm so grateful to God for her. As a professional educator, she had imparted some wisdom, knowledge, and most of all, experience and understanding on me that's helping me to excel. And it's never too late. You're never too old in education today. Thank you, Lee. I'm in your debt. Now, without any further ado, I want to ask you guys first, how you doing individually and collectively?
I'm just doing awesome. God is blessing me beyond measure.
How about you, Bill?
It's been a spiritual journey in this COVID thing, because there's so many things that is so different, and there's so many things that I want to react to but have no power over. So it's just
say that again. There's so many things you want to. I want you to repeat that, because that's what we do here. We kind of spit some fire, Bill, and that was hot. I want to hear that again. You say.
There's so many things that I want to react to that are so new that are happening, things that I don't like. I've had to struggle through a bout of depression. I had a surgery that went bad. I see my friends in the small business community that aren't going to be able to reopen again. And I have a special heart for the small businessmen, because I've been that so long in my life. And just to watch these people not be able to recover through no fault of their own,
right?
Just have their businesses shut down. There's been a lot of anger there, a lot of things that I've had to turn over to God, because I can't affect it.
See, people, Bill just said something that is real and something that is very true, and hits us all different ways, shape, forms, and fashion. The one key thing that he said, of which I asked him, basically to reiterate, was he used the very specific word powerless. Yeah, we are powerless to a whole lot of things. In fact, that's what Serenity Prayer talks about, that, except things that we cannot change, courage things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And then I thank you, Bill, for actually listing, some of the things that are example of what we are powerless to. As real people, we go through real situations and we find ourselves powerless to them. And we have real emotions, as you express, like the anger and whatnot. But most important is what you do with it. And then I heard you refer to your faith. Is that, in the midst of it all, that you have somebody to rely on. Yes, and, we're adults here, people, and we want you to know that there are some things in life, and I hope that you're not too sensitive, and if you ain't, you're on the wrong channel right here, is that, some things in life just plain suck, and that's what it is. Call it what it is. That's step one. We admit that we're powerless. We admit we're weak to something we don't like and whatnot, but we have somebody that we can turn to. And Lee, you being a woman of faith, of one that you're not shy in not only sharing, but demonstrating your faith, this is true, correct?
Yes. And my situation was almost the opposite of Bill's.
Mhm.
And I feel that God had prepared me for this. You remember I got profiled back in 2017.
Sure.
Well, God lifted me up at that point beyond measure. And it's like, I got you. And he's been carrying me ever since. So it was very easy for me to just let go and embrace this.
And what I love about the U2 here is not only are they people are relationship facilitators, but they're real people, and real people, we admit and we accept and understand that we are relational beings.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be connected to somebody. You would agree with that, wouldn't you, Bill? In fact, we desperately look for, what do you call that? Someone who's compatible. Rarely do we find it, but we still seek it. Why? Because no one wants to be alone. We know for a fact in relationships, just as is reflective of your sharing about how you both responded to the things that you could not change, there is that wide spectrum. There is the extreme end that could be sorrowful, as well as the extreme end that could be gleeful, and that does not by any means, and you as as relationship recovery facilitators know, that doesn't mean you're a bad person, nor does that mean you're a good person. It means that God, to me, is still in control of everything, and he does whatever, as we've come to appreciate from cover to cover, Genesis to Revelation, whatever is good and pleasing in his eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes it's difficult, as I feel moved by your experience, Bill, because I have experiences at that spectrum, as well as I feel encouraged by your experiences, Lee, because I've had experiences at that spectrum. And this is what we want you all to know out here, is that it's not a cookie cutter thing.
No.
In fact, we ought to celebrate, and I know both of you would agree with that. We need to celebrate our diversity.
Yes, I think that's true. And oftentimes, if we just let go, God will take over and deliver you. I know that profiling experience really frightened me, and I thought he was going to shoot me and what have you. I don't know what God showed him, but that didn't happen.
Amen.
And as a result, I mean, God just took me to the east. It was like I had to get away from here.
Yeah.
But he took me in such a way that it was just totally unbelievable. I could have never asked for or gotten where he gave me.
Right.
And I think we fail to look at where we've come from and how much he has delivered us from, and just look for something good to come out of this. It has to.
So
because God loves us.
What I've just heard you say, and people, I have confidence in these two, because otherwise they wouldn't be facilitators. They share their experience, strength, and hope in their own way, in a very unique way, and then they encourage the same out of you. What Lee just said was very profound, that, God will meet you where you are. And it does not have to have some real big, elaborate religious experience, but a spiritual experience to accept that there is a higher power, and for some of us call him God, others are more intimate, Jesus, that is willing, ready, and able to help you if you are really willing, ready, and able to allow him to do so. And again, that doesn't mean that you're so good or you're so bad, but that God is. And that's really important. When I mentioned diversity, I was not talking or limiting, and that's something we really appreciate in the recovery community, is that diversity is greater and more expansive than just color. We can have diverse in class and diverse in our experiences. And then Bill just shared that his experience was diverse from Lee's experience, and her experience was diverse from his experience, but yet they shared and communicated it was the same God.
The same God.
The same
Yes.
God that was able to reach them individually and collectively. And Bill, I'm sure that even though your heart is heavy for those of the small business community, I'm sure that you have confidence that God is able to navigate them through some way, somehow, to emerge on the other side. Maybe not the way it used to be, but it could be better than they
Better.
could imagine.
Yes.
You know, I want to
Look
hear
forward
your
to that.
response to that, Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The interesting thing that I went through, to me, was that the more when this first all the shutdowns started and everything started happening, um, the angrier I got. I mean, I was angry. I was in essential business, but I was angry that the government could come in and just have that kind of control over people and over their livelihoods,
Sure.
which for a lot of people that are self-employed, it's their pursuit of happiness. I mean, it's their living the Declaration of Independence. And so for the government to come in, I just kept getting more angry. I was mad at the Chinese because this is the third time now that they've done this to the world. This is the third thing that we've had pandemic over that have started in China. And they agreed over 10 years ago they signed an agreement with the WHO that they were going to stop these wet markets and this was never going to happen again.
Sure.
So, I mean, there's just so many things to be angry about, so many things that are changing. And I found myself not really wanting to be with people. I found myself, because I had this anger, because I had, maybe some of this depression, just wanting, and I live by myself out on a farm, kind of in the middle of no place, and just wanting to stay there and not even participate in the relationship that God made me for, that God made us all for. And it was only when I started to work through this and get my relationship with God back to where it was that I felt comfortable and actually even wanted to go out and renew and carry on the relationships that I had with other people.
Well, I appreciate what you said in that, because that is very key. And that is something that not only I have seen you demonstrate as your belief, but something that I had witnessed you to actually cast for others to grab a hold of, is that the very primary fundamental relationship is first with God. And then from that is where we learn, one, what is a relationship, and then the healthiness of a relationship. So that makes us aware of what is unhealthy and that can become toxic. But what I find so valuable is the establishment of that relationship. And then, as you both have shared, and I love the diversity that you both bring, is because we're seeing two different spectrums. God can meet you in the midst of lack and loss and pain and suffering and wondering. And then he can also meet you at the mountaintop of miracle performing and grace giving and things of that nature. And again, I have to qualify this. This doesn't mean because you have varying experiences is that one is bad and one is good. No, it's the God of us all that is doing what he sees as best, that will result in us becoming into our best versions. You know what I'm saying? And people, that's what we want you to know, is that, one, you can only wear your own shoes. Don't try to wear anybody else's shoes, except that they are yours. And see, that's why I love Bill so much, because Bill, that's honest. That's brutal honesty.
Yeah.
Okay, it said that, you know what? I used to preach this. When it hurts, say ouch. Okay? And that's when God, and if you ever pick up your Bible and read it, you'll see that God always came to the rescue in the severity of his people's distress. When they got to the place, as they said, they were with one mind and they spoke with one voice. And whether that voice was a voice of pain or a voice of adulation, they spoke with one voice. Then he heard them and he responded to them. And then what Bill also said, and I want y'all to stick a pin in it, rewind this and play it back slowly, is that you must be careful and also aware of where you are and how you feel, because if you're not, you can find yourself isolating and alienating. And what we know in the prevention of relapse, these are the things that contribute to it. The isolation and the alienation. And then because we've established at the outset, is that we're relational being. Once we cut all ties from relationship, then we invite all kinds of toxic thoughts and all kinds of toxic feelings. You guys agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that completely. And I wanted to mention something or go back to something you said, Pastor Greg. It's not about how good you are or how well your situation is. And oftentimes when I say I embrace it, people think that everything's perfect.
Right.
No, it's not perfect, but I know that God has me. And I have a great grandson that I have not seen, not good, but I know that God's in control. And if I could say just one thing, your relationship with God needs to be utmost. And for it to be utmost, we need to learn how to be compliant and obedient. I was telling a friend of mine, I said, I'm in practice for heaven because I know there will be no democracy there. So I'm not going to be trying to argue with God about what I can and can't do and what job he gives me.
Right? Hey, I understand that because you were talking to me about that the other day because there is some scripture, obedience is greater than sacrifice. And,
Yes.
he would rather that we obey than we have to, offer up some idols and, offer up some sacrifices on the pyres and whatnot. All he just said, just do what I tell you to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that simple. But what I appreciate in relationship recovery is one, you embrace and accept people just as they are.
Yeah.
And people, once we get started back by the grace of God, we're going to have relationship recovery again. And hopefully we'll see these wonderful facilitators there because one, some of us have come in from, divorces. Some have come from just broken relationships. Some have come from even having a difficulty with having a relationship with their own selves. And then most of all, how is it that you have a relationship with God? They just deal with the whole sphere and spectrum relationship, and they never put themselves out there to be something that they're not. There's some real people with some real life issues, but have decided and have been persuaded that God is the answer in all. But that's one thing I have not known about Lee or Bill. They're not these religious fanatics. They walk their faith more than they talk their faith. You'll see it, and that's what I wanted to really have you guys on here is because one thing as recovering people, and you can recover from whatever it is, it doesn't always have to be chemicals, it can also be behaviors, is that we seek relationship, we seek connection because would you guys agree that in relationships, we get validation, we get affirmation, we get that however it comes out that you matter.
Yes.
And that's what we want to hear beyond our own voices. We don't want to hear from someone else that you matter, that I matter. I mean, it's beyond, and you're both accomplished and whatnot. It's beyond your own accomplishments and aspirations. It's still, you look for someone to say, you matter.
Yeah. And you do matter. One of the things that we try to get across in the relationship class is that you're special. There's no other you. And you're special to God. And we have to look back and see how far he's brought us. Each and every one of us have had miracles in our lives.
Right.
But we tend to pass that and go on to the next thing and woe is me today. But if you look back, this is what David did. His life wasn't perfect, but he could look back and see how God had brought him and was always there for him.
Yeah.
He's there for us, each and every one of us. And there is no little or big you or I, wherever we are and whatever we're doing, it's by the grace of God. And if you let go and let God, I promise you, it will just get better.
Now, isn't there some times, Bill and Lee, that you may have great hopes and wishes to be in a relationship with a certain individual, that there are the signs, the indicators, and the cues that path may not be a healthy one for you? What are, from your experiences and some of your facilitations, some of the signs, indicators, and cues to be aware of that communicate, you know what, this might not be healthy for you?
Well, one of the things is that you can recognize if the relationship is making you better,
Mm,
or what is it that you bring to the relationship that is compatible with
wow.
whoever you're trying to have a relationship with. You
Right.
know, it's not all about one person, because a relationship has to do at least one other person, you know.
Y'all heard that,
And
right?
what do you bring to make this person's life better?
Hold a
And
minute before you go any further. So let me tell y'all, in the same fashion to Pastor Greg, if you waiting for her to cook all the food and bring it to you, well, that's already a sign, indicator, and cue. You
you're
might
not the
be
one.
in an unhealthy relationship,
And I
right?
know, they're just simple little things, that you have to know what you can live with and what you can't. You know,
Right.
there are certain things that everybody has and they're different,
Yeah.
that you say, I don't want this in my life. And you're not God, so you're not about to change anybody. What you see is what you get.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that a person can't change, but change does come from within.
So, Bill, would you agree, based on what Leah is saying, is that we have to come to a place of celebrating our differences,
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
know, instead of trying to mold each other like clones into the image that we think the other person ought to be in.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Definitely, because if you think you're going to change them, not going to happen. And you can spend a lot of time trying, and you
Right.
can enjoy a lot of misery.
I can
So
hear you.
if you can't accept that person the way that they are,
Right.
um, don't even start.
No.
Yeah, that's for some of you guys out here also that's thinking you all, buff and whatnot. You be careful because she might change you. You got curlers and house shoes on, walking around the house. Hey, look now, just telling you like it is, because you might come up against the wrong one. I've seen grown men run out of the house from a woman. So, grits is hot, anyway. We just got to throw. I said we throw some humor in here as well. It's because one thing, like I heard Bill say in his experience and Leah in her experience, is not only accepting things the way things are, but accepting yourself the way you are.
The way
And
you
then
are.
from there, incrementally, but yet intentionally growing, proceeding at a pace that works best for you. In other words, you run your own race like we see the horses do, who have the blinders on. They're just looking and then moving ahead as their ability allows, not looking to the left or to the right. We thank God for other examples, but we cannot be those people. We are to work on becoming the best. Again, I overstate this all the time, and I'm going to keep replaying it like a needle in a record, that becoming the best version of yourself.
Yes. And any relationship you're in should be helping you to do that,
Wow.
not making you or
Wow.
being your God and deciding what you should be.
Ooh. Wait a
See,
minute,
I'm
y'all.
telling people, you don't want to be the little God, okay?
That was how I had to wipe
With
the
all
ball
the
head.
answers.
that was high. And
Yeah.
that's what I really appreciate, people. And we're going to bring this segment to a close, but I thank them both for joining me and for sharing the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that God has blessed them with individually and collectively, as well as their experience, strength, and hope in recovery, because it is not an event, it is a process.
It is. It is.
It is something that we have to tailor to ourselves. Bill, I'm sure you agree with that. We have to tailor to ourselves, and we have to go at the pace that works best for us. And summarizing, you all said, you can't force it. You got to allow it to happen naturally. But God of our understanding, God greater than our understanding, the God who superintends and super rules, will usher you into goodness,
Yes.
into the best that he has
Yes.
for you. So before I let you go, and I thank you again for being on there, and I hope people you got something from it, because, well, I know you did anyway, but we're going to still be at you. You know, Pastor Greg has some fun, but this is for real stuff, because people, you know what? Everybody wants somebody. Bill, come on now. You remember that, Bill? Sometime, right? We all look for somebody, and because we need to connect. But oftentimes, out of our desperation, we are picking the wrong one. Best person you can have a relationship with, number one is, well, God.
Yes.
Then you.
Then you.
Because see what we do,
you
and Bill and Lee, I know y'all dealt with people, participants, guests that have come there. That, you know, they're trying to make somebody be something that they're not, in trying to supplement, or, you know, I want you to be the filler for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where I'm broken, I want you to either fix, or where I'm empty, I want you to fill. And that does not make a healthy relationship.
No.
Basically, we end up seeing people complaining about being used in a relationship, but then they're doing the same thing that they're complaining about, that they got used.
Yes.
Bill, you ever ran into that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think everybody that meets for the first time, if they really want to have a good relationship, they should look each other in the eye, and they both should admit to each other just exactly how crazy they are.
I like that. Oh, hold on. I'm going to use my other hand and fan it this way over here. Reason why I like that, and then we're going to leave on this, because we can keep on this again. I want y'all to come back, because we're having fun. I told you we're going to have some fun over here. So stop pretending. What I just heard Bill say is stop fronting. You know your breath is hot, so you might as well get some gum. Stop telling because she looked good or because he looked good. Ooh, you so fine. No, you know their breath is hot. Tell them right away.
Yeah.
You need some gum. If you're gonna have a healthy relationship, you need to be honest. Now I know that is very crass and a very extreme example, but that is the brutal honesty to have a healthy relationship. We need to stop lying and watering down how we really think and feel, believing we're gonna get something out, when those are the very issues that are going to come up later on in a relationship. I like you, but your breath stinks. See, you knew when you knew my mouth was hot when we met, and you didn't give me no gum.
That's right. And the model for that is Jesus Christ himself.
Right.
Particularly, I mean, I can just reiterate one thing from the New Testament. When he met that rich young ruler,
Yeah.
you know, he confronted him within the first paragraph. He's confronting him. This is what you lack.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, he could have just said, "Oh, come along," and you know, could have said, "Well, you hang around with me, you might learn to give that stuff." You know,
right.
What you could be doing.
Yeah.
He confronted him right away. He was honest with him, and that guy walked away from Jesus, and Jesus didn't turn around and try to get him back.
Nope.
You know,
that was his choice.
he walked away from him, but Jesus was honest with him up front, right at the start.
Yeah.
And that's really what the basis of all your relationships should be.
That's what we're going to end on, that note right there. It's got to be honest up front from the beginning. I love that, Bill. Thank you. Again, Lee, thank you. And Bill, my brother, I thank you. What's up? Thank y'all for joining us today. We're going to be back at you. Hopefully I can get them back if they didn't think the segment was too crazy, because I did warn them. But we'll see you next week. God bless you today.